Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to, of course, acknowledge the chair of the board of BAF. I'm in a bit of a conundrum at the moment because we have two BAFs in Fiji. One is the Biosecurity Authority of Fiji, and the other is Business Assistance Fiji. So I think we have to call the first BAF BASAF to draw a distinction. But I'd like to, of course, acknowledge the chair of the board, the Indian High Commissioner, our representative from the New Zealand High Commission, of course the CEO of FRCS, the CEO of FDB, and Minister for Commerce, Trade and Tourism and Transport. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be very brief, but as we saw with the pandemic, it obviously threw us opportunities too. We use, of course, technology in respect of rolling out unemployment benefits. We paid close to $200 million or slightly over $200 million all through money wallets. We had people applying, took them less than 3 minutes to apply for unemployment benefits, and all of that was actually paid through the money wallets, through MyCash or M-Pesa. It also propelled us to provide assistance to existing micro, small, medium enterprises, and of course those who wanted to get into that space. And what the chair of the board mentioned in 2020, when we decided to have these applications, we said that we must be able to involve other members in our society, in the community, and we looked to these organizations, Fiji Institute of Accountants, Women in Business, Fiji Chamber of Commerce and Fiji Employers Federation, and asked those members to actually assess those applications on our behalf. And in that process, they also provided assistance to many people who applied. There has been no doubt, there's been a lot of talk about, assisting micro, small, medium enterprise for a very long time in Fiji. But in fact, there was no tangible, pathway provided, nor was there any sort of tangible mechanism in place. Some very fundamental issues like getting people to know how to do a cash flow, doing a revenue flow, expenses, keeping records, etc. People did not know how to do it. In fact, many people still don't know how to do that. Coupled with the fact that accessing accounting services was very expensive. So you would have noticed that in recent times we brought about amendments to the Fiji Institute of Accountants Act, where there's now we're in place in finalizing the regulations, which will open up the accounting fraternity, so to speak, to those people who could now afford accounting services. You could have actually certifications now provided by smaller accounting firms, which in turn banks like FDB and hopefully Bread Bank and others would actually rely on those certifications, which therefore would mean the process of application would be a lot quicker, people will have a lot more certainty, will be able to create that ethos that engender within the business community in Fiji that they do need to keep, their accounts in check. They need to have a cash flow, because if you actually develop that culture, that business practice, then you'll be able to access funds a lot easily. I've spent in the past couple of weeks, nearly about 10 days in the Western Division. There's some brilliant ideas, and some people actually have been making a very healthy living from their micro, small enterprises, but they don't actually even have a bank account to show for it. They don't even have a cash flow to show. And some of them are actually making $300-400 a day, if not more. And the cost structure is, less than 50% of what they make. So there are those people, if we are able to mainstream them and get the mainstream financial institutions and not only depend on FDB to provide the finances, then of course we're in a very good space as far as developing not only sustained livelihoods, but also being able to develop the business culture in Fiji and also grow commercial and financial activity in Fiji. Fundamentally, that's the gist of it. And this is what BAF is going to do. And Indian High Commissioner, I'm glad you're here because a few years ago, one of your, I think it was your Deputy Foreign Minister then, Minister Singh, was in Fiji. And at that time we had the $1,000 grant for those who wanted to develop micro enterprises, start micro enterprises. Somebody's got 5 pigs in a pigsty, they want to go up to the next level and have another 10. They needed the capital to build more pigsties or buy some piglets, etc., whether it's goats or chickens or anything else, or carpenter or lady who's doing handicraft, moving up to the next level. they needed that input, capital input. And the Indian government is very generous. I think they provide to the tune of over $5 million, is it? $5 million US. So we look forward to your further generosity in that respect. Minister, now that you know that we have got very good mechanisms in place, we have people who will be qualified to certify, and they can also partner up with banks like FDB and obviously the other mainstream banks. So I think that really creates that level of enterprise that we are looking for within the Fijian economy, and it does provide people with a lot of confidence to venture out also. There are a lot of people who have got fantastic skill sets. They don't necessarily always want to work for somebody, they want to be able to work for themselves. They have ideas they want to develop, and in that way, through an organization like BAF, we'll be able to create or give them that level of assistance. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to congratulate everyone who's been involved. Dr. Ali, thank you very much. I know she's been a keen advocate of MSMEs. I mean, I've been hearing this for nearly 2 decades about MSMEs from her. And this is actually a realization of that. And also the other members who participated, as I've said to Pravinesh, who's the current president of the Fiji Institute of Accountants, in a number of countries, accountants, in order to get their annual practicing certificate points, there's a requirement for them to go out and work in the community, provide some form of assistance, pro bono work that will not only upgrade their skill sets but also provide assistance to others, and they can obviously channel that resource, that skill set through BAF. And we look forward to that actually actualizing as part of your Institute of Accountants practicing guidelines. BAF, of course, needs to be a lot more like all the other organizations. I know through the CEO of FDB, FDB has become very digitally savvy now. A lot more services are rolled out through digital services. BAF can obviously do the same too, and piggyback on some of the skill sets that the others have developed, but also be in many parts of Fiji. Sometimes, we tend to be very Suva-centric. There's a whole world outside Suva, and we need to know that. A lot of enterprising people outside Suva, we need to reach out to them, reach out to people in the Maritime Islands also, and with that way, we'll be able to create a lot more economic activity. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your presence. We look forward to your support. We look forward to your assistance. We look forward to your collaboration. So for us to be able to ensure that we are able to get out of this pandemic on the road to prosperity and be able to build sustained livelihoods for all Fijians. Naka, thank you.